Hi everybody. So I'm a few minutes late and I apologize. Just trying to get this set up so I can read questions and comments as we go. Hi Howard. Nice to see you on. So we have had an explosion of members. Over 300 people have been added today. So yay. Happened very suddenly and very fast. But I saw that a lot of you were posting questions on one of the other canning groups that I advertised the class in. And a lot of you had posted some questions here. So I just figured, yeah, wow is right, Howard. I figured we would just kind of go over a few things, answer any questions you all have. I'm going to try to keep up with reading your comments as we go. I don't know if there's a delay. You're welcome, Darlene. Thank you for joining us. So hopefully there's no lags in the video and we can make this an effective session for you all. So please go ahead and post any comments. While you all are doing that, any questions that you have, I just figured I'd go over a few of the ground rules for this class. First of all, my goal here is to educate you and to help improve your skills that you already have. We will not be indulging in techniques that are not proven scientifically as safe. So therefore, if you cannot find it in an approved canning guide, on a USDA site, a university site, then we're probably not going to indulge in those techniques. We will review techniques, we will review what's safe and what's not safe, and I will do my best to answer your questions. Oh, good. I'm so glad. I like coffee, not tea, just so you know. But I just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to learn as much as possible and learns and acquires the skills to preserve their own food in their own home and do so safely. I accept no liability for anything you endeavor on in your own home. What I do in my home is what I've had experience doing. I've been canning for well over 20 years. I was introduced by canning by the lady who took care of us when my parents worked. We called her our nanny, even though she's not really a nanny. And so I learned a lot of unproven old farm methods from her. But I also learned through the years what is really approved and unapproved as safe techniques. So just be fair warning here, if I see you posting something within the class that is not safe, I will address it. I tend to type more direct than what I seem face to face. So please don't read anything into it. You know, if I bold something, it's not because I'm yelling. It's because I want you to know it's important. So that's just really the biggest thing is safety. You know, I want you all to learn, but I want you to learn good, safe, approved methods. So that is first and foremost. I would really recommend that everybody take the time and scroll through the videos and watch them that we've already had. We've had a couple videos on safety. I've posted some reference photos as far as troubleshooting for like jar breakage, shock. I posted a really gnarly picture of some stew that somebody thickened with an unapproved thickener to go over the reasons why. I will always give you the reason why we don't do something, and if I don't know it, I will find the answer and tell you why. But most of the time I know the answer directly. Not always, but mostly. Just from years and years and years of doing it. We'll go over water bath canning as well as pressure canning. And I know for some of you who have been in the class for the last 3 weeks, this is not new. We've already had a lot of the same information gone over. But I want the new people who are coming over from that other canning site to be aware of what my expectations are. You know, safety is number one, first and foremost, beyond anything. And it's not worth the risk of harming somebody else or somebody you love or yourself. So, tried and true methods are really the key things that we want to focus on. So, with that, let me see here. Oh, and the other thing is, if you could, and I don't mean to sound bad at all, but if you guys could not post the highs and hellos and all of that as you come in. I know you're just trying to be friendly, and I really do appreciate it so much, but I don't want the lessons and the videos to get lost in the shuffle. The Facebook algorithms are not something I can control, and so informational videos that people need to see might get buried. So please, you know, have some patience with me with that. I am not, see, every time I approve 20 people, 20 more people try to add in. So this is new territory for me as far as Facebook Lives. So I want to do my best that I can do for you and make sure you're getting the information you need. So with that, we'll open it up to questions. Does anybody have any specific questions related to the class or related to do's or don'ts or cans? I know somebody asked me earlier about electric canners. I have never used an electric canner. I know they exist. I know that Ball makes one that does a 7-quart processing, but I have not used it. I would actually be interested in trying it and, you know, giving it a review. But at this point, I don't have any experience with it. My son is going to be helping me because he's way more tech savvy than his mom. He's going to help me transition some of these videos onto a YouTube channel. So he said that would make cross-indexing them a little bit easier for y'all to find. But really and truly, this is all brand new stuff for me as far as the technical sides of it. So, yeah. So any questions you all have? Holy moly. Hi, Janelle. We're doing a Q&A. Oh, the other thing I would like to say too, before I forget, I just thought of it. Please no spamming. No selling, unless it's canning stuff that you're selling as it relates to the class, jars, a water bath canner you're not using, things like that. Please do not join the group to sell. I have my own business. You know, I'm not going to bring that here because it's not appropriate. So please just, you know, respect what everybody else is here for. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing questions. So Amanda is asking, I've never pressure canned before and I'm looking to get into an All-American pressure canner, but I have a glass top stove. Can you use an All-American on a cast iron hot plate? That is a great question. When you say hot plate, are you referring to something like a 2-burner? If you're referring to something as like a 2-burner, absolutely. Or a gas burner, you can. The one thing I would say is if it's an outdoor unit, you would want to have the shield that goes around it because it's extremely difficult to regulate the temperature in a canner in an outside setting. All Americans, if you're thinking of the style that I have seen, that I've actually looked at, they are flat bottomed. So some of them are safe to use on glass tops, but always go by the recommendations on your stove's manufacturer warnings. If your stove says do not, then don't do it, because you don't want to nick or crack or damage your stove. But a lot of the newer glass top stoves have like a 1-inch allowance, and as long as you don't exceed that 1 inch around the burner, you can still can on that. Sorry, I've got another. Oh, that's just somebody else pushing hello. Lots of hellos happening here. So glass tops, the rocking motion is what's normally the issue. And of course, with a pressure canner, there is some rocking that does happen. The higher the pressure, the more the rocking you'll experience. But if it's a flat bottom and your stove doesn't have any restrictions for it, then yes, you can. I have friends who have glass top stoves, and I've actually used a glass top stove myself to pressure can, and I've had no issues. Amanda, are you new? I think you're new to this class, aren't you? Seems like I remember seeing your name on the approvals I just did. Wow, people are from everywhere. Any other questions? I thought so. And for those who were in the class last week, I want to apologize. I meant to get on Thursday or Friday. Oh my goodness, in Australia. Hello. So I was saying I need to apologize. I meant to get on Thursday or Friday to do that video tutorial on canning potatoes, but my husband ended up being home Friday, and I've been fighting this cold allergy yuckiness. No, it's not COVID. We're all good there. But it's wreaking havoc with my asthma. So I was not feeling well or up to it, but I should have posted to let you all know. So I apologize. Water bath for many years. I just recently bought a Presto pressure canner. A little nervous to pressure can. Any advice? Take your time. Read your manual first. Absolutely, preparedness is the key. Have your ingredients prepped, have your canner prepped, do everything according to what your canner recommendations are. Check your seals, make sure you have your rack in the bottom, that your jars are already sterilized and hot. If you have a dishwasher, excuse me, that's a great way to keep your jars nice and warm with a moist heat. Other people in my class already know that I'm not a fan of oven warming as far as jars, because dry heat is not really good for the jars. It can actually damage the glass. But yeah, that's a great way. Or you can boil some water, mix it with some regular hot tap water, or if your tap water is hot enough, and fill the jars with hot water and let them sit in a hot bath upright in your sink so they stay warm as you fill them. I have a Presto, I believe it's a 21 or a 27 quart, maybe 23. It does 7 quarts or 22 pints at a time, and I love it. I have had to replace the seals, as far as the seal around the pressure regulator itself. I always recommend to anybody who's just starting, your very first bath that you do in a pressure canner, if you're nervous about it, try water. Do a test with water. Just put some water in jars, seal them, run them for 20 minutes, and practice with building up, letting the steam go for 10 minutes, depressurizing, so you gain some experience with that. Wow, I can't believe there are people here from Australia. I'm so glad to see everybody getting excited about doing this. This is fabulous. Oh, more people say hello. Hi, Angela. See, just in that little bit of time, I just cleared the people requesting, and I already just had another 22 people. Oh, well, I'm so glad you joined us. Hopefully you find the class informative and helpful. So I know there's been a lot of questions as far as how the classes work. Typically what I do, I haven't been great in the past about giving a whole lot of notice, but I'm trying to do better. But I try to go live and I save the videos so you all can watch them as you have free time to do so. When there's large gaps of time, typically what I'll do is sign off and then come back on so you can see the beginning and the end. Although I did do a video with Sarah. Well, she wasn't on the video, but she attended the video the entire time, where we kind of chit-chatted through. So that was kind of nice. So any other questions? We're almost at 500 people here. Oh my goodness. I can't believe this class grew so fast. So the picture on, excuse me, the picture on the cover photo of our page, that is actually my grown daughter's old bedroom that we converted to a pantry. And I have those shelves around the whole room, and they are full. By the end of cannon season, typically all of those shelves are full, and then I'll have several crates of full jars setting about because we do so much. I typically can well over 2,000 jars a year. There isn't anything I don't can. I'm very big on homesteading. This class will also probably likely endeavor into homesteading things like gardening in small spaces, processing herbs, maybe even some herbal medicine stuff that I do with herbs and essential oils. And of course, I'm not diagnosing or anything like that. I'm just, sharing what I do for my family. Probably may get into some butchering depending on how hunting season goes. I know some people are interested in that. But I try to have zero to little waste. I discussed that if you watch my video on bone broth, I go into that. As you watch me during canning season, you will see just how little waste I have. Right down to, as an example, when we do apples, oh, I have a fuzz or something on my lip. For applesauce and apple juice, we don't waste anything. So if I juice apples, I take the pulp and I sauce it. The cores and peels, I'll either dry the peels for apple flour, or I'll take the peels and the cores and boil them and make pectin so that I can use it for my jams and jellies should I need it. Same thing with turkey carcasses and things like that. I don't throw away the bones, I freeze them. Scraps from cooking, onions, celery, carrots, those types of things, I save, freeze, and then we use them when we make bone broth. We do a lot of adult treats for special desserts, things like brandied apples, brandied pears, I will warn you before we endeavor in any butchering, and probably you won't be dealing with whole carcass type of stuff. And you do not have to watch any videos like that at all. But we do get into using a bone saw because you have to have the bones cracked as far as making broth and stuff because you want the marrow. But yes, Janelle, I will warn you. Janelle's my friend. We've known each other for years, so she knows how farmerish I am. So, any other questions? And Janelle, do you want me to warm you or warn you? Because my Grammy used to use that phrase, warm you, but it didn't mean like the snuggle. It meant she was going to warm your fanny. It was not a pleasant experience. I'm completely joking, by the way. Janelle knows that, but anybody who doesn't know me. Any other questions? Yay, Donna! Woohoo! We're hunters and foragers here in Maine, so it is not anything for us to slap a deer up on the table. I have butchered deer on my table, cow, goat, chicken and turkeys. Okay, somebody commented on something that I don't know if it's in this video. What is this? You don't need a spanking? You're a better girl than I am. I do canned meat. Yes, Angela. I do chicken. I do hamburger, beef stew. I have some venison stew I just recently did. Like I said before, I just did a batch of beef bone broth. And that actually has a lot of different meat in it. Absolutely, Amanda. Applesauce is one of my favorite things to do, and I do it so different from what other people do. So y'all will get a unique perspective with that. I make my applesauce in the oven. I do not boil it, and apple flour is probably one of the best things that was ever thought of. So you just dry your apple peels, completely dehydrated, you grind them. I can't find where this person commented on something. I do. I have stew and veggie soup recipes, and I will share them. The one thing that we discussed recently if you go through the resource photos that have been posted in the class is about thickeners. A lot of people like their soups and stews thickened. Unless you are using a thickener called Clear Gel, you want to avoid thickeners until after you're ready, like after it's canned, when you're ready to use it. Then you want to go ahead and do your thickening then. All other thickeners other than Clear Gel continue to thicken as they cook, as they can, and then as they cool, which can cause the product inside the jar to expand and lift your lid and can cause spoilage. So Clear Gel, not Sure Gel. Sure Gel is a pectin. You want Clear Gel. That's a special type of starch derivative. I can't find this post that somebody commented in my class. Oh, it's another hello. See? It's distracting. So yeah, we will definitely go over that. What is this? So besides soups and applesauce, and I'll actually share you guys my applesauce recipe that I do with Fireball for those that are interested in Fireball whiskey. It is phenomenal. I love to do stuff like that that is unique. My husband really, really loves that stuff, especially things like the brandied apples and brandied pears. A lot of people are not familiar with, you know, they think of alcohol and they think of just, yeah, me too. A lot of people think of the alcohol stuff and just think, oh, for snickerings. That's not it at all. But like brandied apples are really great. It's a great sweet treat, but it's also really good if you're sick because brandy is an expectorant. So it helps work out that stuff. I do elderberry cordials, elderberry cough syrup, elderberry tinctures. So, you know, beyond canning, if anybody is interested in those things, certainly I would love to share that knowledge with you. I'll probably be showing you all our gardens, which, as Janelle can attest to, we have massive, massive gardens in a very tiny space. We live on 2.88 acres, and we have a huge 40 by 40 garden, and then several other gardens around. Oh, good. I have some tincture curing right now. Excuse me, puppy. She's not inclined to move. Dookie. Sorry. She is not inclined to move at all, but I'll show you. These are two of my tinctures that I have running right now. So you can see the berries here, and then this is all the vodka. And I just label them, the amount of alcohol in each vodka and everything. But you just give it a shake and see how nice and dark that is. And this one's already strained. So, but you want to keep them in a cool, dark place, which is why I keep them underneath here. It helps keep the properties intact. So, but we are avid gardeners. My husband is, by trade, a landscape foreman, and runs, manages a local landscape business. Excuse me. So we've been very, very blessed. I have raspberries, razzleberries, apples, grapes. We had a huge grape harvest. Unfortunately, because frost hit Maine early this year, or this past year, we ended up having to harvest a good 80% of our grapes while they were green. So we researched how to salvage those, and we salvaged all of that. We made tons of sour grape juice. It's lasted us all winter. In fact, we're just using, I think I have maybe 5 quarts left. I did over 140. So it was no small feat. We grow our own strawberries, garlic, broccoli, Swiss chard, beets greens, potatoes, carrots. What I can't grow in my space, we barter with local farms, or we buy from local farms. Support your local farmer, y'all, especially now in these times. I just saw in the news today that because transports are not happening, because stores and restaurants are closed in a lot of the country, that farmers are dumping produce. So if you live in an area where farms are, go scoff up some of that produce. You can probably get it for pennies on the dollar, but support those local farmers. Grow and can. We've been doing this for a long time. Hi, Sarah. We've been doing this for a long time. We started, well, I've always canned since I was young, but we started really coming into a homestead mentality when our now 17-year-old was 3. He was diagnosed with an incurable kidney disease called nephrotic syndrome. and it's very rare. Yeah, I keep getting told that. Zach is helping me set up a YouTube channel so that I can teach canning and the homestead stuff. So yes, I will probably share all of that stuff. So when our son Nate was diagnosed, we just kind of did a reevaluation of how we were living and what we could do to boost his health to be the strongest it could be, because his kidney disease is so rare that if you had 100,000 kids in a stadium, only 6 of them would have this disease. I'm so sorry, Angela. Nobody should have to bury their child. I am so sorry. We've dealt with that reality for a long time, and so I'm gonna stop because I don't want to get all emotional on you, and I will. I cry all the time. So, so we removed all the chemicals from our home. We started working with an organic cleaning company. You don't need to be sorry, honey. I know. Yay, Zach is right. I called him this morning. I said, so Felicia said that I should go. Hi, Felicia, if you're watching. Felicia said that I should go on YouTube because, she thinks everybody would be interested in this. And I said, can you take my videos that I've posted on Facebook and make a YouTube and maybe piece them together so, it's one continuous video and not 3 or 4? And he's like, easy. So I was like, yay for a techie son. But yeah, so that's what prompted us. We went to an organic diet. We had a working farm for a long time. We made our own milk, our own dairy products, cheeses, yogurts, you name it, we did it. Janelle was fortunate enough to watch me shear sheep. We spin our own wool. I weave, I sew, I knit, I crochet. Really all of the things that are now considered lost arts. So yes, please do a YouTube. Okay. I appreciate all the encouragement. You wouldn't know it, but I'm kind of shy. So this is really out of my comfort zone. So, oh good. I'm going to have to shut off this high post. It's distracting me. But yeah, so I'm really kind of excited that there's so much interest. I really didn't think there would be this much interest. My friend Lindsay shared it with a homestead group up in her way in northern Maine, and then I shared it with our local Belfast group. And then Felicia suggested I share it in this canning group. So, and it's just, the group has exploded today. So, oh, what is this? I could teach you how to do. I actually have a full fleece that has been sitting in a tote since Common Ground Fair last year. That I've just not had time to card and clean. But definitely, I'm also trying to get this business up and running. So I do nails. Well, I don't do them. I sell nails. I work with a company that does dry polish. Hi, is it Lois? Am I pronouncing that right? Is it like Joyce but Lois? That's a very pretty name. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to read what people are saying at the same time. That's a beautiful name. I am busy. I'm a firm believer idle hands are not good. So, um, wow. I feel so blessed that so many people want to do this. I'm a hermit, you all. Like, literally, I'm a hermit. This quarantine business has not changed my lifestyle in the least bit. So, wow. Are you all in states or countries that are under active quarantine still? We were just extended. Our quarantine is going to carry through to, what was the date, Nathan? May 31st. So, what better way to utilize this time than to share our wisdom and knowledge with other people? You know, why not? Hi. Hi, Virginia. I have an aunt named Jenny. Well, Virginia, but we call her Jenny. Y'all, our group has grown to 489. Yes, definitely. We definitely have a community here. Yeah, that's what our governor, Angela, our governor says she's going to do the same. We're supposed to do like a slow, slow to moderate addition. Texas, New Jersey, 30 minutes from New York. Wow. No, I wouldn't think so. Um, Vermont, May 15th. Our businesses have to do a permit. Louisiana, Georgia. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so glad you all decided to join. And then you have to have a permit and agree to operate under certain conditions that are considered safe. Florida. Michigan. See, Janelle, we've had our dentist open, not for regular visits, but for emergency, because when the tooth I had prepped for a crown broke, I was able to go in and they did the crown. So, but regular doctor's appointments and everything they're doing by telephone. Yeah, Michigan. Wow. It's such a weird thing. Like everybody's, you know, of course everybody has their own beliefs political, and we will not get into that here at all. Like, at all. I think everybody is entitled to believe what they want and be right and wrong about what they want. So I don't want to indulge that stuff at all, but I just think like what unprecedented times, like our governors, whether you agree with them, whether you don't agree with them, the president, I mean, we're dealing with really unprecedented times. My husband and I were talking about it, and it's like, you know, the last huge pandemic like this was the 1918 flu. And if you think about it, the people who were alive then were children if they're alive now. So it's so, yeah, see, we didn't have that order to close or not. They allowed medical to stay open for emergency. Louisiana. See, so we're all in it together. Like I'm not always happy with everything our governors do and things like that, or the way things are done around, you know, the nation. But in something like this, they really are shooting from the hip because they have no basis to form a plan on. Queensland, Australia, right, Debbie? Let me scroll back and see. I think you said you were from Australia. Okay, maybe there's too many comments now for me to look back. Excuse me. Okay, I can't find it now. Yes, that's right. I thought so. Sorry, I'm going to prop you up here while I sanitize my hands. Try to practice good hygiene, especially in the kitchen. So, any more? Whoops, what was that? No, I don't want to delete anybody's comments. Why are you asking me this? That's awesome that you've had no cases for the last 3 days. Excuse me. My asthma is so irritated. The weather up here is damp and... You're welcome, Carlene. Welcome. Where are you from? Allison, for the purposes of this class, I will not be indulging in teaching things that are questionably iffy. Tried and true, safe scientific methods are what I'm going to be promoting and teaching. There are some things that our grandmothers did that they managed okay with. If you go on any of the popular canning boards on Facebook, White House, Tennessee, just outside Nashville. Oh, lovely. Well, welcome. Hi, Hope. So if you look at like, okay, so the lady who helped raise me, we called her our nanny. She wasn't really a nanny, but that's what we called her. She was famous for doing pickles, not water bathing them, just turning them upside down and letting them seal on the counter. Vinegars are high acid foods. Pickles have lots of vinegar in them. They also have a lot of salt, which brings up the acidity. And so based on that, there's a lot of, my grandmother did this for 30 years, never had an issue, blah, blah, blah. However, science dictates that in order for something to be safe, it has to be reproducible and produce safe results every single time. Those old-fashioned ways of doing things do not produce safe results 100% of the time. They may produce safe results 97% of the time, or 94% of the time, or 50% of the time. So based on that, we're going to go by what science says is safe and not by what other people say is safe. Like personally, there are things that I do that I would not recommend you do. How's that for an answer? I went over this in one of the videos. If you go back and look through the videos from previous classes, one of the things that I do is I do use Classico tomato sauce jars. They're Atlas. Atlas is a brand of canning jar. They come with measurements on them. They are meant to be reused. However, because they're not ball regulated safety tested jars and they are secondary jars from a commercial cannery, I do not use them for anything other than water bath. So how's that? Real quickly, just because there are so many of you here and we're talking a little bit about safety, I will tell you without exception, there is no such thing as safely canning something in a water bath canner that is only to be pressurized canned. Great examples of that is on some of these forums, you'll see people saying, well, if you water bath it for 3 hours, you can eat this and not get botulism. That is flat out wrong and not good science at all. Excuse me. Pressure canning has the ability to bring the temperature up inside your canner and inside those jars to 250 degrees. Botulism, which is a bacteria that is odorless, tasteless, and smellless. I'm sorry, I just said that completely backwards. Odorless, tasteless, and sightless. can only be killed at 240 degrees. Water bath, no matter how long you bath it for, will never exceed 212 degrees because the temperature of boiling water is 212 degrees. It's never going to get any hotter. That is what it is. So it will never kill botulism. So anytime somebody posts that in a forum, you just go ahead and scroll on by because that's not scientific. Don't ever, ever, ever let anybody try to convince you that good luck equates to science. It doesn't. Science produces the same exact results every single time. You're welcome. So there's your lecture for the day. I'm very, very passionate about that. It's quite flustering, because you're not just talking about opening a jar and being able to smell it's bad. You're talking about something that could kill somebody. And it's so not worth it. It is never, ever, ever going to be worth it to take the risk with your life, with your child's life, your aunt's life, anybody else's life. And the other thing is, depending on where you live, I strongly encourage you, if you decide to get into canning as a way to earn extra income, say you farm, you have berries or whatever, you want to make jams and jellies to sell, please, please, please make sure you are checking with your state so you are not doing something that is illegal. A lot of backyard kitchens want to sell their products, and I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody wanting to do something to help be supporting their family. However, there are rules and regulations for a reason. It's like unlicensed creameries selling milk. I would buy raw milk. I have no problem. I like raw milk. I think it has a lot of health benefits. However, the way that it's handled, I want to make sure that raw milk is handled appropriately so that when I'm getting it, I'm not getting listeriosis. So those things to me matter. So I would encourage anybody who wants to sell their jams and jellies, if your state requires it, get your kitchen license, do it the appropriate way, because it's a whole lot more expensive if you end up having an issue and get into some type of trouble. So yeah, so that's pretty much that. So does anybody else have any questions? Excuse me. Hi, Crystal. All right, so I am not seeing any new posts of questions. So I think that's where we'll leave today's Q&A. If you have more questions, or if you come and watch this video after it's closed and you have questions, you can go ahead and post it in the comments, and then I will try to hop on and answer it as I can. I opened this class about 3 weeks ago. So we've already done a couple things. If you scroll down, you're welcome, Hope. If you scroll down through the comments, I'll probably, Kay Keeler, hi Mom. Oh, your mom's on here. It took me a minute to register that. Hi, Sarah's mom. You're welcome. You're welcome, Amanda. So if you scroll down, I'll try to maybe shut off the hi hellos and things like that, and post an announcement asking people to limit that. Not that I'm against, people saying hello and such, but I don't want it congesting the feed. I want you guys to be able to find the vital information. There is a couple classes already on here. There's one that went over, you're welcome, Nikki. There's one that went over equipment, a 10-minute one that went over the the pictures that I posted as far as the different jars and the breakages. So it was basically a part 2 to safety. Oh, I'm so glad, Kay. So yeah, and then there's the bone broth video, which was, how many parts was that, Sarah? 3? I think that one was 3 parts. We did bone broth already. I have a pumpkin here to do. I have some sweet potatoes we're going to do. I have some regular potatoes we're going to do. I was researching today because I was really hoping I could do sweet potato today, but I have to peel those dreadful things. So, and I wanted to be able to do my sweet potatoes as a fry and not in chunks because personally, yeah, I think it was 3 too. Hi, Donna. Welcome. I wanted to be able to can them with the peels, and evidently canning sweet potatoes with the peels make the peels basically the same consistency of masking tape, which is a choking hazard. So we won't be doing that. And since without the peels, they would basically turn to mush, we're just going to do cubed sweet potato. So we'll be doing sweet potato, potatoes, pumpkin coming right up. Those will all be pressure. I have some blackberries in the freezer. I thought we'd make some blackberry jam. Oh, good. Good, good. And I believe I have some blueberries to do some blueberry jam. And then if I can get some pineapples on sale, maybe we'll do some canned pineapple and things like that. I know, peeling sweet potatoes is like the epitome of kitchenware. I would rather peel 50 pounds of white potatoes over peeling a sweet potato. They're miserable. They're just miserable things to work with. That said, if you've ever processed burdock for the seeds, you won't complain about a sweet potato. So I should close my mouth because I've been there and I've done that. And that is not a pleasant situation afterwards. You basically have to strip and scrub to get all the little burrs off your skin. It's miserable. So praise Jesus for having to peel sweet potatoes. So, all right. So with that, I'm going to get off here. I've got to make some Amish friendship bread. I set some batter 10 days ago and I was supposed to do it yesterday, but I didn't. So I fed it today. So I've already divided my batter and I need to get some bread baking. So yeah. And if you don't know what Amish friendship bread is, I highly recommend it. It's a sourdough, gives you a nice starter so that you can bake bread without using yeast. What kind of jam, Janelle? Are you talking strawberry or blueberry, blackberry? I'm going to do blackberry and blueberry, I think. I think I've gone through all of my strawberries already. Me too. Me too, Angela. Jam, I don't typically use any pectin in. You can. I don't. I typically just use the berries and sugar. Now, sugar is another whole discussion. Some people prefer honey as sweeteners. Some people prefer raw sugars, yellow sugars, white sugars, sugar substitutes. I'm going to be using a golden sugar. It's less refined. I try to use the least refined products that I can find. And right now, because raw sugar is not even in the stores, we had to go with the next best thing, which was the yellow. So I will be using that golden sugar. But yeah, and that's a water bath. I wish I had, in fact, I might. I'll check in my freezer, but I think, I'm not positive though. I may have cranberries that we could do some cranberry jelly, but I just made, well, in November or October, I made a whole batch of cranberry jellies. And I will try to add some photos to this page as far as like photo albums of different things that we've made. That you're thinking of gelatin. Yes, and don't boil your lids. Sarah learned that the hard way. Boiling your lids will disrupt the rubber and prevent it from forming a nice seal. You're talking of gelatin, Janelle, and that's for like jellos and things like that. You can, there is a recipe to make a tomato jam using jello. You just do the flavored, and it takes on the flavor of whatever the flavored jello packet you used. I have a friend who, I think she's on this class, Emily. Emily, if you're on this class, and I'm pretty sure you are, she can tell you all about it. She can give you a recipe maybe if she'd be willing to share. But yeah, I've done cranberry sauce and all of that. Sure-Gel is a pectin. Pectin and gelatin are two different things. Pectin is an all-natural product that comes from fruits, and gelatin is something that comes from the hooves of pigs, cows, horses. I'm guessing you could probably make it out of any hoof. I boiled mine yesterday. Yep, don't boil them. A lot of the old-time canning instructions say to boil your lids or heat your lids. That is old method, and it's no longer something needed with today's modern lids. And as far as jars, Nathan, can you message Dad and tell him nothing and tell him I'm on a live so that I can't answer him? Sorry, my husband's texting me at the same time. Yeah, so don't boil your lid. You don't need to. The only exception to that would be if you're using a Tadler lid, then you would need to sterilize it. And you would need to sterilize the rings because those are reusable. The other exception to that would be if you are using the old-time glass top jars that have the rubbers, the rubber rings. And I do have tons of those that I inherited from my Aunt Edie and my Aunt Avis. So we can certainly, I can do a class using those as well. I'm not sure if it's because of that, Allison. I can look that up and see what I can find on the ball site. But I do know that if you use heat on the rings, it will damage their ability to form and meld around the glass during processing, which can disrupt the seal. Also, another thing I saw on the Tadler site when we were discussing Tadlers earlier, Tiffany had posted a question about the Tadler lids. Hi, Beth. Tiffany had posted a question about the Tadler rings, and Tadler's website, I just completely lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Sign of age or lack of coffee? Oh yeah, Tadler's website says that they do recommend you scald the rings. But you do have to be careful about wear and tear on the rubber pieces themselves. Those will eventually need to be replaced, so you want to inspect those annually. Sarah, did any of your jelly seal with a solid seal? No, don't boil your lids for anything. Unless you're using glass lids or Tadler lids, never boil. You don't need to scald them for any reason. You can just wash them with a light soap and water and rinse them and have them ready. Not for any type of canning. Oh, good. But you're keeping them in the fridge just to be safe? Sorry, I'm trying to keep my earbud in. Nope, that's an old school method that is no longer applicable to canning. The things you want to keep, yeah, yep, I agree. Things you want to keep hot are things you're going to be putting hot liquid in. Like, so when you're dealing with hot jams and jellies, hot soups, hot packing vegetables, you want to keep your glass and your water bath canner and your whatever it is you're processing at an equivalent temperature, at least within 10 degrees of each other, because you don't want to cause any shock to cause a fracture in the jar. I've seen other people make comments about, and I just, this is just dangerous and poor to do. It's not a wise thing to do. Scooping up whatever breaks and reusing it in a different jar. Consider when you break something, how many little pieces of shards of glass are loose. You find them a week later and you step on it, or somebody picks it up with their hand or whatever. The same principle applies to jars with food in them. You do not want to put food that came out of a jar that fractured into another jar and take the risk of eating glass. It's just not worth it. You throw out that one broken jar. No one's going to go hungry over that one broken jar. Oh, thank you, Lynn. So, yeah. But does anybody have any interest in learning how to can with the old-time latch top jars? The ones with the glass lids? A great place to find jars. I know I've seen a lot of stuff going around about jars in stores being sold out. If you all have yard sale jars or yard sales that you can score jars, or those online yard sale boards, I highly recommend getting them. You always want to inspect the jars, check for chips and fractures and things like that. But if you get an opportunity to buy a banana box full of mason jars for $10, $15, that's still cheaper, even if you have to throw away 3 or 4 jars, than it is to buy a case of brand new jars. Lynn, where do you live? What state are you in? Facebook Marketplace is a great place for jars. Oh, and that's another thing. Tracy, thank you for bringing up Walmart. Walmart has their own brand of canning jars that are perfectly safe to water bath and pressure can with. I have bought them. I have used them. They're beautiful jars. They don't have the pretty pictures or things like that, but who cares? Your food is going to look beautiful in them, and it's going to be even more beautiful when you can take it off a shelf and feed your family. So definitely, if you can get a good deal at Walmart, by all means. I typically, like I said earlier, I can well over 2,000 jars a year. So I take all the jars I can find. If somebody's cleaning out a shed and they found Aunt Mabel's jars from 50 years ago, a jar is a jar. Yep, absolutely, Allison. If it's a approved canning jar, absolutely. Yeah, I have golden harvest jars myself. I have, I have antique jars that have the different states on them. They had a slogan for each state. So like the California had a poppy on it. Pennsylvania had the Liberty Bell. I have tons of those jars. I inherited a lot because I'm the one person in my family who still cans. Well, I think I have some aunts that do it, but not like I do it. Okay, so since there's enough interest, I will do a class on using the old time rings and lids. And I think going back to tattlers too. If you all are interested in investing in tattlers, I personally, they're not something that I will use because I have family members with chemical sensitivities. So I want to be aware of anything that could possibly leach into the food. Tattler does say on their website that leaching doesn't occur until you're at 400 and something degrees. A pressure canner gets up to 250 degrees internally at 15 pounds of pressure. So the likelihood of them having a significant amount of leaching is not that big. However, because of my son's medical issues, my mother has chemical sensitivities, I'm not going to use anything that takes that risk. If you're using tattlers, yes, you do need to disinfect. Basically you want to do is a scalding. I can't see the rest of this comment. My two biggest hang-ups with pressure canning is disinfecting and not blowing up my house with a pressure cooker. Okay, so Donna's concern is disinfecting and not blowing up her house. Both two worthy things to be concerned with. First thing, as far as disinfecting, white vinegar, soap and water, and if you're okay with using bleach and water, use bleach and water. I have a sterilization cycle on my dishwasher. If I'm taking if I'm taking jars out of a shed or an outside place, I wash them with bleach and water and soap. I first do hot water and soap, then I do a bleach wash, and then I put them in the dishwasher and I put them on a sanitized wash so it bakes. There's no possibility of anything contaminating that jar. If they're from my loft where I stored them clean and upside down and then covered them before the next layer was put on, then I just take them out and I put them through a wash or a rinse cycle. I keep my stuff sterile. Hot water, just as hot as you can possibly stand. Most temperatures on water heaters, I think, are 120 degrees or something. So, a little elbow grease just to make sure they're soapy and clean. And then you can use a cap full of bleach in a gallon of water and just kind of rinse it around and then let it air dry. But you want it fully air dried. So that is something that restaurants do. So it's certainly safe. I clean all my surfaces. Whenever I'm going to be doing any type of canning, I'll tell the kids, okay, we're getting the kitchen ready for canning. And so everybody knows that if they've got peanut butter and jelly out on the counter, a coffee cup on the counter, they need to be responsible, take care of it. Dishes get washed, my counters get cleaned. We disinfect everything. I set up my towels. I set up my canner. Excuse me. So we get the kitchen prepped beforehand. I'll set up a basket on the sideboard where I have my lids and rings ready. So we're ready to go. And then I put up my food. I get the food prepped. I have these beautiful enamel prep pots that I use to cut up produce. And Sarah, I will put these on your list that you wanted. Sarah asked for a list of things that she should get for canning. There are these beautiful deep blue enamel pots that are about this deep and probably this big around. And they hold a formidable amount of food. And so I'll prep my vegetables and I'll put them in there, especially if I'm going to cold pack. I'll put one burner on for my hot water. I'll get my jars in the dishwasher going. I'll put my canner on to get the water running. and I'll start cutting up my vegetables and put them in that pan. Now, if it's something that's going to oxidize, so it's going to change color, I'll set it up so that I can cut it and put it in the pan with water and some citric acid to keep it going so it won't oxidize. But it's super, super, super simple. And once you get used to it, it becomes a flow. It becomes a pattern of what you do. Sorry, somebody else. Oh, thank you, Sarah. As far as blowing up your house, we don't want to do that either. And the biggest thing I can tell you with that is people take shortcuts. Shortcuts are not safe. Shortcuts create problems. Stick with the tried and true. Check your vents every single time. Make sure your vents are clear. Yes, exactly, Allison. Yes. Don't be afraid, but have a healthy respect. If you check your vents and your vents are clear and you check your seals and your seals are in good health and your equipment's operating functionally and you're doing what you can do to build up pressure, allowing the 10 minutes of steam to go through before you start, you're being cautious as far as checking your jars for breakage and things like that, you're going to be safe doing this. You're going to be just fine. Mistakes happen though. People get lazy. People forget to check. And I've been guilty of this myself. I've gotten halfway through a second or third set of a vegetable and realized I forgot to check the vent between loads. You want to check. Keep pipe cleaners on hand. Great way to check your vents. If you can't see through the little holes to make sure your vents are clean, you can use a pipe cleaner. Just thread it through quick. Easy peasy. But we will go through all of that. And you can see, if you watch one of the previous videos, you can see where I've gone through that and showing you how to inspect your seal and what to inspect your seals for, splits and cracks and things like that. It's good that you're cautiously aware of the possibilities in all respects, whether you're water bath canning or pressure canning. So anybody else with any other questions? Seems like every time I ask that, we've got another one, which is absolutely fine. I planned this for this afternoon for this reason. But I don't want to let you go if you still have questions. Okay, so it seems, what do I water bath? As in, like, what products do I water bath? Any high acid foods. So tomatoes, tomato sauces that don't have meat in them, pickles, pickled peppers, jams, jellies. You're welcome, Carpenter Susie. Or is it just Susie? Is Carpenter what you do? But you're welcome either way. All of those things get water bathed. Applesauce gets water bathed. Pears, peaches, pineapple, anything that's considered a high acid food. Juices. Almost anything that I cure with alcohol. So those are all things that you can water bath. If you haven't already done so, I highly, highly recommend that you purchase yourself a Ball Blue Book. If you search Ball Blue Book, you'll find exactly what I'm talking about. Ball makes all kinds of different canning books. I've got 2 or 3 of them myself of various canning recipes. The thicker books are more gourmet style recipes like chutneys and things like that, which is nothing wrong with you doing those. Ketchups, things like that. And if you're so inclined to endeavor, absolutely. I do ketchup every year. I do barbecue sauce every year. So we can certainly touch on those items too. But I would recommend really your first book, besides your book that comes with your pressure canner, if you buy a pressure canner, I would highly recommend that you have a ball blue book. You're welcome, Donna. Oh, there's two Donnas. I'm going to also be harvesting horseradish. We have some horseradish out here, so I'm going to be canning my own horseradish this year. Horseradish. It always makes me tongue-tied. And then I do, oh, sorry, my daughter's messaging. I do things like cranberry applesauce. I do all kinds of things. All kinds of nifty things. Or I think they're nifty. Hopefully you'll think they're nifty too. Awesome. Even on PDF format, that's awesome. You can print it off at leisure. You can print off the recipes one by one. I think isn't there like, is it Kinko's or Staples? You can have them print and spiral bind stuff for you. I can't remember which one it is. Anybody else know? With a Kindle you can't, but the PDF you can. Okay. So that's another way that people can get the information they need. The other thing I would recommend that everybody have is, I don't know if you can see it right there, right beside my stove, right here. That is a cookbook rack. That will come in so handy because, especially if you have a kitchen like mine, we bought this house and it was previously a rental, so we've got different things that we want to change, like the floors in horrible disrepair. So, well, not all of them, but just the kitchen one. So we're going to be doing the kitchen floor, but when we do the kitchen floor, we're upgrading the kitchen. So I have very limited counter spaces because this was a rental. That wasn't their goal to make a gourmet kitchen, and I want a gourmet kitchen, just because of the sheer amount of cooking that I do. And I have very limited counter spaces. So if you have a limited counter space, I highly recommend you get yourself a cookbook stand, because you're going to want your cookbook open. You're going to want your measurements available. And if you look on that rack, like whatever herbs I'm using right in the moment, I'll put there. The rest of them are in a dark storage area to keep them healthy and very potent. But you'll notice that I have a mug tree up on that shelf that has all of my measuring utensils that are metal and sterile. And that way I have everything right at hand for myself. You know, you want to get some good funnels. You want to have some nice pots. Not nice as far as like, they don't have to be brand new, but stainless steel would be wonderful. Metal. Enamel pots are fine, but they can stain depending on what you're doing them. If you do tomato sauce in an enamel pot, it's going to be stained. So, yeah. Oh, Susie bought a blue book yesterday. Yay, good. And as far as canners, you know, enamel canners run anywhere from ones that do 5 to 9 quarts at a time. There's a few different varieties, Rachel. I know Walmart was out. I would check your local hardware store. A lot of people were out around here in Maine too. And they were able to find them at like their local Aubuchons. There's also, well, I don't know if that's in every state. I don't know if Home Supply is something that's in every state, but Home Supply had them as well. Sometimes Home Depot and places like that will have them. And definitely check your yard sale boards. I mean, if you can buy a pressure canner off a yard sale board for $20, $30, $50 even, and you have to replace the pressure regulator, those are $10 or $15. So a brand new canner is going to cost you $100 to $250. Yep, see, she found hers at Ace Hardware. We got ours at Aubuchon. But that was a few years. That was definitely before this hot mess started. Oh, see, I don't even know what Roll King is. Is that like an online store? Hold on, I want to respond to this lady. She's posting on our board here. Yes, I am live now. Sorry, trying to hold the phone in tight too. Oh, okay. See, we have Tractor Supply in Maine, and we have Aubuchon's, and we used to have Agway. I think Agway still is in some areas of Maine, but not many. Maine is a pretty rural place, though. So maybe that place would have one online for you, Rachel. If all else fails and you don't see somebody selling one, you can always post on those boards too and say, hey, I'm looking for or in search of, because you never know who might see it that might have one sitting in their mother's basement or in their garage or something. Oh, nice. Yeah, Susie, I inherited probably my first 300 or 400 jars from my Aunt Avis, who passed away. And I just added those to the bits I had, and then it was about that same time that I started really getting into canning pretty heavily. Michigan? Well, I hope you find one soon. Definitely keep watching. And you never know, somebody on this board might decide that they want to upgrade or find something so that they can share. Dexter Township in Michigan, Sarah? Okay. So is that it for questions, or are you all good? You're in Oklahoma. Wow, I cannot believe I have so many people from so many places. Well, I'm very glad to have met you all. Wow, that's so cool. And then you moved to Maine and there's a Dexter here too. Who knew? Holy moly. No, you're good. You're good, honey. See, just in this time we've been talking, I already have another 24 requests to join the group. which now brings our membership to over 500, I believe. Holy moly. $529 members. Thank you, Susie. You too. I've got to go make some bread and some supper. Y'all have a blessed night, okay? Bye.